everybody, Danielle from Made Possible by Pop Culture, which is just possiblebypopculture.com, or you probably just know me as DanielleTBD on Twitter. Well, alright, look around. I know you see I'm here by myself today, and usually I do the vodcast with my friend Marissa Rothman from GiveMeMyRemote.com. In truth, we're still planning a bunch of really fun podcasts for you guys. In fact, the Emmys are coming up just around the corner, and of course we're going to have something for those. So you're going to want to stay tuned and see what we cook up, and of course what our thoughts are on the winners and, unfortunately, the losers. So, before we get into that, though, I figured it's fall TV time, okay? Even if you're not a blogger like I am, TV might be ruling your life around this time. There's just so much of it, and the promos are insane. Every time you watch anything on television, even if it's the news, you're going to see promos for tons and tons of new shows. Well, back in May, when the networks decided what they were going to pick up for the new season, I went ahead and I made myself a schedule for what I planned on watching as well as covering for fall 2011. Admittedly, I based those decisions on seeing the initial pilots, so my snap judgment, if you want to call it that, isn't as snap as it could have been. I wasn't just judging off a promo. But, you know, things change. Pilots get retooled, actors get recast, characters get bumped up or relegated to the background. A lot can happen in just a few short months, especially here in Hollywood. So I decided that it's time. It's time to go back and look at the fall schedule again and really decide in a concrete way, what am I watching this year? What am I covering this year? Of course there are going to be some returning favorites. Chuck, Supernatural, newer ones like Community and Parks and Recreation and The Good Wife, all shows I've loved and I'm going to keep watching, keep writing about, because let's face it, I feel like they really enrich your television and they offer a unique voice and things that, you know, I get excited about and I want you to get excited about as well. Also some shows that maybe I loved them in the beginning and then I kind of fell off. A good example is Desperate Housewives. I thought it was extremely brilliant in its first season. Kind of reminded me of all the soapy melodrama of Melrose Place, which to this day is one of my favorite guilty pleasure shows. But then in the middle of the series, it kind of lost me. It was the same stuff all the time, and I just stopped watching. I'll admit it, I just stopped. And, you know, it's the last season now. They've announced that the season that starts this fall is going to be its final one. They're writing, knowing that, having that in mind. So how could you not tune back in? How could you not see the end to these women on Wisteria Lane? That being said, there are tons of new shows coming too. I mean, look at what happened in May. ABC and NBC picked up 12 new shows each. Now, some of them aren't until mid-season, but you get the drift. There's a ton of new stuff out there. So how do you weed through it, and how do you decide what you're going to include on your schedule and what you're not? Well, for me, there are shows where if the pilot doesn't grab me right away, I still want to give it another episode, maybe another 2 episodes. If there's a character that I find intriguing, or if the premise is something unique and maybe I haven't seen on television in a long time, or if there's, you know, a plot point that just seems to promise more mystery, or maybe mystery is not the right term, but more intrigue and drama down the road, it doesn't have to hook me 100% for the pilot for me to give it a shot and watch it in the fall, at least in the early fall. Being said, I went ahead and I wrote out my schedule, and I'm going to show it to you in a second. It's not fancy, it's not a grid, it's basically just chicken scratch on a notepad right now. I'm going to make it pretty and put it up on my website if you want to see it, but for now, it looks like this. I don't even know if you can see that. So, the point being, when all is said and done, I looked at this list right in front of me, shows that I love, I know I love, pilots that hooked me, pilots that I want to give a second shot, and a couple of shows that I'm going to give a second shot basically after they lost me for a little while. And the grand total number, not including cable networks, of 35 shows on this list and on this schedule. And that may seem crazy to some of you, but to me, seems really small and not quite right. Now, 35 shows can be a lot, especially for somebody who doesn't watch with DVR the way that I don't watch with the DVR. Don't yell at me about not having one. I'm still refusing it. If you really want to know why I'm so anti-DVR, you can pick up a copy of my book. I do have a whole chapter in my pop culture memoir, My Life Made Possible by Pop Culture, which is based on my blog. It's available at Amazon. It's also available on my website at possiblebypopculture.com. And I go off on DVRs and why they're just not right for me. And it's like a gateway drug, quite frankly. But, you know, I understand that the average person doesn't get screeners or review copies sent from studios and networks, and DVR watching does really ease your life. You can watch it whenever you want. For me, someone who has to get coverage up before the episode airs or immediately following it, it doesn't really provide me the cushion it really provides a lot of you. Anyway, long story short, 35 shows, a lot of these aren't even on opposite against each other. That never happens. I don't know how this happens. I don't know that I can accept this. I may have to look at this again and just tack something on simply to feel like I'm busier than I maybe feel that I should be. I don't know. But what do you guys think? What are you excited to watch? What are you excited to see debut in a few weeks? What do you think of 35 shows? Is that too much? Is that too little? I honestly don't know. I've been in this business for so long that maybe my idea of normal amount is not anywhere close. So, like I said, I'm going to have this mess printed neatly and nicely up on my website. You can also follow me on Twitter at DanielleTBD, of course, for reviews of these shows, for photos of these shows, video interviews with cast members and producers when I can get out there and actually conduct them. I plan to preview these shows and more. Of course, I always review every fall show, whether I plan on watching it more than just the pilot or not. And all of that will be available through Twitter. I link to everything. So that's the best way to find me and to get a hold of me. And tell me I'm crazy for 35 shows. I don't know. I just thought it was something that I needed to share because it was not what I was expecting to happen this fall season.